Um, okay, I think we can start now. Lots of people, very happy to see you here. Welcome here. My name is Ale Contenti. I'm the dev manager for Visual C++. I've been in the team, the Visual C++ team now 7 years, so it's been a great ride. I definitely seen a lot of C++ code there. I've seen also a lot of features that we've done in the C++ compiler, in the libraries, in the IDE, the project system, the IntelliSense. And actually today here there are a bunch of my teammates. You should stand up. Where are the C++ people? My C++ guys, look around for them, look at them. Remember their faces, you know. Ask a lot of questions when you see them. Don't be shy, guys. Ask me a lot of questions. This is a great opportunity for us to get feedback about this new feature we added and you know, all the things we are adding to C++, what you like, what you don't like. Find us in the booth, find us in the talks. We have a list of talks. And so I really like this opportunity to interact with you. So today the title is pretty simple. I'm gonna talk about bringing existing C++ code into Metro-style applications. And I want to spend 1 minute to talk about why C++, right? Why we talk about that, right? We've been talking in our blog, in our channel 9s, if you've been seeing them a little bit, about the C++ renaissance. There is kind of a lot of reasons to talk about the renaissance for C++. C++ being used over and over, over the world, the modern C++ code. So we've seen it used more often. And to write a lot of application where you need power and performance, you're using C++. And the C++ 11 standard is just being ratified, so that's great too. And all these things, but one of the things that really struck me is just yesterday I was talking with a bunch of you, just randomly meeting people at lunch, in the booth and so on. And I know a lot of, you told me stories about a lot of C++ application, right? I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to meet anybody that does C++. Everybody I met, it was just luck probably, was doing some C++ all over the map. You were doing, a backend for a telecom app. You were parsing C++ code to give, to give better intelligence and so on. You were doing, elaboration on some imaging, very complicated things. So you were doing power and performance there. Or you were doing, of course, graphics and games and DX. So that was kind of answer for me. Okay, this really could talk. We should do it, and there was a great interaction right there. So yeah, that's pretty much the C++ renaissance for me is just you guys writing your cool application, and of course you want to move your existing application into the Metro style because the Metro style is really beautiful. I really like it. It's very styled, it's very fluid, very fast. So fast and fluid, sorry. Anyway, so I think that's a great mantra. I go to bed every night with that. Oh, it's true. You don't believe me. So anyway, the agenda is very simple. Just two things, basically. We're going to talk about existing gaps, existing libraries, existing code, and how you can move it to C++, to Metro style, right? And we're going to have a couple of demos that are going to explain a couple of situations that you could encounter. How you can approach some of the problems. We are also going to see some rough things. It's not going to compile. We are going to try to fix the compilation. We are going to encounter a bug in the SDK. We're going to work around that a little bit. If everything works well, the demo is always fun. But I'm not going to cover everything, of course. So this is really, it was supposed to be a chalk talk, so kind of a little bit more intimate. We are a lot of people, so it's great to have a lot of people. So there's going to be a little bit less interaction here, but let's keep the interaction maybe, for later for the booth. And I really want a lot of questions, a lot of people telling me, wow, how do I do that? Stuff like that. So let's keep that going. So let's dive in. So the first thing is that I'm going to tell you right away, moving the existing app, the entire app to Metro style is not going to be easy. That's it. So for a few reasons. Yeah, that's it, we can go. No, you have to tell it right. So sometimes you can't sweeten the pill too much. The idea is that also Metro style is really different from desktop application, right? There's no more ribbon, there is no more docking windows and so on. So you have to really rethink some part of your application to actually fit in Metro style in the fast and fluid and blah, blah. So what you do in this case, actually, talking with you, I feel that a lot of you are already thinking, well, how can, I'm going to move these things, I'm going to do this, and so on. In your mind, you're already thinking about your application, your company application, your own application, your old stuff, and you're already kind of componentizing that application in your mind. You're saying, well, these things I'm going to move it forward, these I'm going to rewrite the UI in XAML UI, or maybe in JavaScript HTML because it makes more sense, and so on. So you're already doing that exercise. That is the exercise you have to do. Really think about the components you want to move forward, and actually move that and rewrite some other parts. So how Visual C++ can help you here? In two ways, right? The key thing is that you can still leverage a large set of existing libraries, and they just work in Metro style. You use STL a lot. You use a lot of mathematical libraries maybe. You use some parsing libraries. You use a graphics library, graphics engine, physics engine to do some graphic stuff. So all those things, mostly maybe algorithmic, they move forward pretty easily. So we are going to dive that a little bit more. We have a couple of slides about that. And another thing that you can do is, yesterday you saw it in Alesh talk and in the other talk, and before just Herb mentioned that you can write a WinRT layer around your C++ component. And with this WinRT layer now, you can easily interrupt. This WinRT layer kind of project your component in a natural way to, for example, JavaScript or to C# or to other C++ applications. So that's very powerful, and that's nice to do. And we are going to see example a little bit of both. So one thing I want to talk about is the Windows SDK for Metro style application. Being C++ guys, you always reach out in a way or the other. Sometimes you're very, CRT based and so on. But for a reason or the other, you always reach out down to Win32, down to the Windows SDK to do that thing to interact with the OS. So these, the classical slide, the blue box and the green box, and now, some part of Win32 are actually replaced by WinRT. So the key here is that Alesh put it very well yesterday. Windows 8 introduces this app container broker. So basically, a number of resources like files, the microphone, the camera, devices, and so on, are actually brokered, right? So they are controlled by this broker. And a large number of Win32 API are just replaced by the WinRT library, right? By the objects in a WinRT library. An object for the camera, you see an example around that. And a good number of Win32 APIs will not be available to write Metro-style application. They will be available, of course, for desktop application in Win8, just like they are in Win7. But in Metro-style, you're not going to access, the example was MessageBox. MessageBox is not going to compile because it doesn't fit in the Metro-style, philosophy. Or GDI. GDI doesn't fit because we want everything to be fast. MessageBox was everything to be fluid, so no interruption. GDI is everything to be fast, so we want everybody to go down to DX, D2D, and so on. And registry doesn't really fit because you don't want to mess up with some central crap and and mess up everything and MSIs and so on that nobody likes anymore. And so we really want to move forward from these type of things. And actually, I have a list. There is actually a link there, and it's probably already found it in the documentation we have online. The list all the available Win32 API. I think I have it up here. Let's see if these magic things work. Look at that. So there's this link basically goes here. Now my computer went black. There you go. Wake up. There you go. Oh, it went red. Oh, my guy's gonna come. Anyway, while that's gonna be fixed, we can go back to our talk. And so basically on that website, on that documentation website, you're gonna see the list of APIs that you can use in Win32. And also we are gonna see later in my example how you can actually navigate inside the WinRT, the Metro SDK to actually understand what's good for Metro and what's actually just for desktop. One thing I did here, I kind of simplified a little bit how you actually create what you have inside a desktop application, right? Maybe you use, some standard C++ libraries, definitely, you use the C runtime. You use maybe parallel pattern libraries. You use Win32, you use ATL. Maybe this application is an MFC application. And then you use third-party libraries, You reach out to Boost, to Physics Engine, to other libraries that you actually wrote. We are actually testing live. Okay, going back. And third-party libraries. And then, of course, there is your code where you have your IP and so on, right? So how these things move forward to metro-style apps? So for the two guys, you're good. I mean, everything you use in the CRT and in PPL, there was a question just before for Herb. It just moved forward seamlessly. There is no problem about that. Win32, we just talked about, really, right? You have WinRT replacement for most of the Win32 things you use day to day. And there is a Win32 subset that is still available, D2D, D3D, the things listed in the famous web page there, the red one. So ATL, again, we subset a little bit ATL. The classic part of ATL, like SECOM pointer and so on, they just work fine, no problem. But the registry part, for example, that doesn't make sense. We say the registry part is not moved forward to metro style. So that's why actually that part is not part of ATL. MFC is not gonna go. So just to preempt any question, it was a nice red box there. So why we don't move forward MFC? Two reasons. The first one is easy, it's based on GDI. We are not moving forward GDI. Second one is the MFC is also an application framework. With MFC, you buy into the ribbon, the toolbar, the docking windows, and a lot of concepts that are not metro style. So that's why MFC is a good framework for the desktop, but it's not good for metro style application. And for your code and third-party libs, it really depends. I mean, it's a generic answer, but the idea is that how much do these third-party libs or your code depends on some Win32 that is not part of Metro SDK. And depends how much work you have to move to your code forward to that. Or if you're based on GDI, then there is a bunch of work for you in front of you to actually move to D2D. Still no luck. Okay. Well, we can do it red. It's not that bad. I like red. It's more kind of pink. Yeah, pinkish. That's okay. So we are getting ready for the party. Maybe it's a pink team. And anyway, so let's drill down a little bit about the existing third-party libraries, right? Third-party libraries will need to review their usage of the existing Win32 API and actually move forward. And we did the same for our C runtime and our STL. And it took us roughly a month to actually, kind of abide to the new Metro SDK style. It's not too much work. It depends, again, it depends. So we looked, for example, at Boost. They have a low usage of APIs that are not part of the Metro SDK. And so mostly around some file things. Sometimes you have to move from create file to create file X, things like that, not very complicated. Physics engines, like, for example, Bullet that we are going to use in our demo, most are algorithmic, so they move forward pretty easily. Or when they reach down to Win32, it depends a little bit. Threading UI, the threading capabilities are changed a little bit in Metro SDK, so that's one thing that you maybe want to use Concert, or you want to use the thread pool provided by WinRT. Math library usually are very, very, very algorithmic based, so we use DIL2 in our Spec 2.6 tests that we do, to speed up our compilers, and it just moves forward very easily. So, and think about your code now a little bit. So, I think there is a couple of basic steps to migrate your code to the Metro style environment. You have to make sure that, again the Metro style SDK. You're gonna grab your code, put it in a Metro SDK and a Metro style project and compile it, and you're gonna basically, see which errors you are and reach down to actually, try to change those Win32 call and use WinRT instead, or maybe you get lucky and there is not so much work. there are kind of two parts to this verification. One is actually you get it from the compiler itself, and also as you upload your application to the store is going to go through the exports of your XC and DLL and actually verify that you actually don't reach out to Win32 functions that are not part of the Metro SDK. I'm going to talk about the first part, about the compiler errors, and we can talk tomorrow in the boot about the other part. Another option you have is to add a WinRT layer for the smooth interoperability actually with the Metro style app, like for example, JScript and so on. So, what's happening? Something's changing behind me. I'm going to introduce a little bit a demo now. I want to show you a couple of demos. This kind of a button drop, like a lemon drop. To migrate a third party. Okay, everything's working fine. I mean, we are going to use a physics engine, and I mean, it's faster. I probably show you the application, even if it's red. The application just does that. It's very simple. There is a button there, and I did this application in XAML UI, and writing down a button like that is not very complicated. But this part is more complicated. Actually, look at that. The pink went away. Thank you. And maybe just had to run the application in, fast and fluid. So this part is complicated for me, right? So I really don't know how to rotate all these things, these gravity effects like in the moon and so on. For this part, I'm a dev manager now. I don't write code anymore. I just press F7 until it compiles, right? I keep on compiling, randomly changing something, eventually it works, so it's good, right? Just get by with the day. But the idea is that, I grab the code, I grab the physics engine, and, all the maths to actually rotate the cubes and understand where the cubes go and how they bounce together is already there. What do I have to rewrite that and go back to school and study trigonometry and blah, 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 and so on, and put it back in code? No, I just, grab the code and recompile it. So the idea is that, if I go down, we can, if I go down here, for example, basically, what I did is, I don't know, can you see? Yeah, I downloaded Bullet Engine, I exploded it, I basically grabbed the sources, and I moved basically the sources in these, in this existing, I created the solution as two projects. The button drop, there is the simple XAML UI file, and the bullet DLL, there is a WinRT component DLL. So I moved the code forward there, and I moved the code there, and I can show you that it just, we can rebuild only this part. And it's going to start building. There's actually a lot of files inside there, so it's going to take a little bit. So let me go back to the slides. Hopefully, we're not going to get red again. So this is what I did. I moved the code forward. Some parts I left behind. For example, the multi-threaded one could have some problem. But the other things are going to compile just fine, and it's going to give me all the goodness about calculating, the various positions. And what I'm doing here, this is actually my solution. On the left, you have the demo app that is XAML UI app. It's generating an exe, buttondrop.exe. On the right, I'm generating a bullet.dll with a bullet.winmd that describe, this WinRT component I'm creating. All the part on the right, the original bullet code, is just the code I moved forward with no problem. And what I'm doing here, I'm generating this small WinRT layer to actually easily interrupt. Let's say I want to write the demo app actually in JScript. With this WinRT layer, it's easy for me to do it. And if we zoom in inside the WinRT layer, what I really have is just one class where I create a word, a 2D word from a canvas that I get from the XAML UI. And the public surface of this WinRT class, that is a public ref class, is, there is a constructor. We are going to pass the canvas there and some dimension and some things. And you can add a lot of boxes. What I'm doing, I'm just, going on the X and Y and adding a few boxes around the same area of the button. And then, I set up a timer in the XAML UI things, and I call step simulation, and I move the simulation forward 1/10 of a second. and then I tell, the word to actually redraw everything on the canvas with the right rotation and the right colors and so on. So that's the coolness. If we go back here, in the meantime, our super fast compiler compiled everything. And I want to show you, actually, what I want to show you is actually just the code of this WinRT layer. This is one of the things we have here. So there is the public part. This is the public ref class. This is the class that is exposed outside. And this is the public layer we were talking about. There is the constructor where I pass actually the canvas to this. This is a native class still. It's just a native class that is exposed as a WinRT class. Add box is gonna, pass a bunch of parameters to create the box. These are the step simulation that draw shapes. Nothing complicated. What I want to show you, though, is the private part of the class that you don't see across the layer. You don't see the part across the layer. You're going to see, we are going to keep a reference to the canvas that is coming from XAML UIs. And we can mix and match, WinRT references and normal, normal float values. Or these BT classes are all classes coming from Bullet, where, they do all the hard work. And we are actually putting them inside SharePoint. So all these parts that we have are just, working fine. All these constructs that we have from STL and so on, they just work seamlessly. One of the things I want to show you is very cool, in my opinion, is a standard pair. It's just a normal pair from the standard classes. And, on the first argument, the type here is a box2d, that is a normal box class. It's a C++ class, no problem. And this one, we keep a reference. On the other side, we keep a reference to a XAML UI shape. So the same pair as, it's all native, right? That shape is just a pointer to a WinRT construct that is href release for you. But that's pretty much it. It's just a pointer. Everything is native. It's a standard pair of two native things. And actually, I can put these pairs inside the vector, and I get the fastest thing that is a vector containing a lot of fast things. So the idea is that I want to show you that you can seamlessly mix the WinRT things coming from one layer and all the code that you have from STL, from Bullet, from all your code, right, all your logic and so on. So that was kind of, I think that was what I wanted to say, more or less, in the first demo. Now I have another demo. You've probably seen this music app a little bit coming around. So I have a little bit different take on this music app. So I actually wrote, let's assume you wrote already a very, very cool music things that actually listen to you. Actually, it's always easier to show the demo instead of me talking and blabbing around it. So what I wrote is this beautiful app that actually, if you sing, ba, 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 it's actually trying to understand. Since I sing very bad, I usually I do C#, C++, F#. See, it works, And it's actually trying to, inside here is actually not just randomly putting down things. So it's actually doing a fast Fourier transform and grabbing the stream from the Microsoft with the WASAPI API, Win32 API. So doing a fast Fourier transform to actually pinpoint the frequency you are actually using and trying actually to listen to me talking and thinking that I'm singing. But that's better like that, I guess. But this is actually, a command line application, right? It's the farthest things away from a Metro-style application, right? Command line, come on. But that's all the code you really want to move forward. That's the code that you actually care. And let's say you want to put it inside. I have another example here. There you go, it's here. I have this piano application. I just grabbed the keyboard from the application that Vika showed before in a couple of talks. So I just grabbed that piano, the keyboard there, and what I did, I just added the code here, the audio capture code and the signal processing code. The code beyond there is the one that does the fast Fourier transform. All algorithmic, it works fine, no problem. This one is the one that is interacting with WASAPI, with Win32, and that's where we are going to see some problems, right? So if we do F7 on this baby, it doesn't compile. Okay, so we have to get to work now and earn our money. We are C++ guys, we get paid a lot because we have to fix things. So the first problem is that we can't find something. It's the same problem you see with message box during the keynote. doesn't compile because it's not part of basically of the SDK anymore. So what I do usually when I see some errors, some squiggles, I just find a reference. You don't need to figure out where it comes from, right? So there is a bunch of type defs, and this one seems like the big guy's big number. So I always go to the end. So what you see here is something very interesting. What happened? Let me go back there. So what you see here is that, you know, that the declaration that we need, that you know, that GUID that we need is part of this. If you scroll down a little bit, it's part of this WinAPI family partition desktop. It means that basically the definition is part of the SDK that is actually the desktop SDK and not the MetroStyle SDK. So let me show you a little bit in my beautiful deck what's happening here. So almost every SDK headers from the Windows SDK, the one you know already, like this one, they have kind of this partition, this if-def part inside that. And so the first part, the WinAPI partition app, that is for application, is the one that actually is for MetroStyle SDK, for MetroStyle apps. And the other part, the partition desktop, is the one that is not valid in MetroStyle application. And actually, if you look inside our project, the MetroStyle project, what we do for you is we set WinAPI family to 2. That is a beautiful number. And actually means that it's set in the WinAPI partition to the partition application. So for you, every new MetroStyle project that you create is going to basically automatically gray out that part that you cannot use. That's why you actually get the errors. So to make it a bit easier, actually, we collapse this block, and we see above something that actually is pretty useful. Oh, screen, sorry. I did something without. So I collapsed this baby here, and you know, I collapsed the region, so it doesn't. Since it doesn't work, we don't even care about it. And we are going to grab this guy that is actually the one that we need. So what's not working here is all this part here. Let me remove this. You know, the co-create instance, the activate, they don't work anymore, so let's comment them out. And let's use the new API that we used there. I did some legwork for you here, so I mean, you're not going to be that fast. You have to, you know, I spent some time at home to figure out, okay, which one is the right API. You go to the docs, you go to the samples, you ask on the forum. You know, it's a pre-release, so there is some work to do, and it's fun. Come on, you know, we like to do it. I know, that's what I do for fun. That's not always true, but I mean, it's pretty fun actually. So basically, this part is a string. I have no idea what to put down for the moment. I just put an empty string. This one is, you know, I really want the audio client, so I just put this guy. Yeah. And then, you know, I put a void star here. This is always an ugly syntax. I really hope we kind of change it sometime. Anyway, so this is going to compile now, I hope, because we kind of got rid of all the parts that are not, you know, MetroStyle SDK. And it does compile, right? Yeah. Yeah, it does compile, but there is some linker errors. And, you know, the Win32 geeks in you probably already figured out something. It took me a while. This actually is not the right mangling name. The name is not mangled correctly for a Win32. Win32 calls are all C calls. So what we are actually encountering, and I apologize for that, is actually, you know, a problem. This should be an extern C, and it's not extern C. So we are going to work around this bug. This kind of, you know, normally you wouldn't have to do that, but we're going to hack around this to show off a little bit old C skills. Do you remember the standard call? That's really old style. Okay, so now at least it's going to compile. Okay, so basically we got rid of the non-MetroStyle SDK. Now it compiles, but we still have the problem with that famous string that is an empty string, right? We need an ID here. And it's going to be a device interface instance ID, and you have to figure out what to put there, right? So again, I did that for you. You should thank me. And And I mean, you can find it again in the samples and so on. What you reach out to actually to the WinRT at this point, right? WinRT is giving you the information. It's the famous broker. This is one of the parts that got changed, and we have actually a WinRT API for that. And you go, I mean, actually the object browser is actually a pretty good tool to navigate and understand what's going on here. And the function, as you can guess, is the one that is highlighted here. And is the get default capture ID. The ID is actually pretty key. So we are just going to copy this baby here and put it here. The namespaces are great, but they're really long, so I'm going to use my favorite friend now. And the other friend is Auto, because you never know what you get. So, but it works. And then actually the compiler does the work for you finally. It's kind of telling you once you remove all the squiggles. So this one we don't need. And this one actually is an enum. And so IntelliSense works pretty well. Not perfect yet, but getting there. So we get this ID that is actually the famous platform string, because WinRT always return strings, WinRT strings. And our friend here actually wants the old style wchar star, right? So we just get data that returns actually what we need. So I think now it should work. I never trust myself, so I always debug my code automatically. And let's see if it actually works. Linking, blah, 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 deploying. It's not that slow. So starting here, okay, stopping here, that's pretty cool. We had already some code that actually calls into this. So HR looks good for now. It's always SOK, you can see here. Then we go forward, and oh, still good. Oh, damn it. Yeah, let me. I'm gonna show. I want to do a little trick. So let me do something in the back. Sorry, I really want it not to work. Sorry. It's okay. We are family. Okay. So let's try again. Come on. Okay. So if HR is going to be access denied, right? Because the broker is not happy, because these applications start without a microphone access. And now we are asking for microphone access to actually listen to me singing, right? But the broker is not happy. That's why, when we actually try to initialize the client, the broker says, oh, damn it, no, and not let you do it, right? So what we have to do, stop everything, go here to package.r manifest. When you rehearse too many times, that's the problem, right? You should just let it go. Right? So now it's going to work, and because we actually tell in the manifest, the application is going to see, okay, this guy is actually really need access to the microphone. I mean, now I trust myself, so I'm going to remove the. Actually, there we go. Tack. Windows is actually asking, do you really want the microphone? Do you really want to listen to this guy sing? And you say yes. And actually, what I did is just print out the same stream of strings inside this text box. I just left the, really hooking up to the keyboard as an exercise for you. So you don't know what to do tonight after the party. And so that's, these are kind of the two demo I have. And we can go back here. And this guy is, this is the WinAPI family. So this is kind of the summary. So the idea I want to move forward here is that you do have the power of C++. You have the power of the libraries like STL, CRT, and so on, Parallel library, Concert, all the libraries like Boost that are beautiful libraries out there. A lot of, you saw example of physics engines and, fast Fourier transform and a lot of things that you really need the power to reach out to the power of the GPU. You can use C++ AMP and so on. It's all there. You can use it for your Metro style, super cool Metro style apps. And then you have to think about how your code is componentized, what you can move forward, where you want to move forward, where you want to put that work in. And then you start moving it. You create, or you move the code directly into the XC, like we did with the piano app, no DLS, nothing. Or you put it inside the DLL, and you create maybe a component. And if you interact between C++, you can interact the old way with DLLs. If you maybe think, well, let me componentize it a bit. Let's put the WinRT layer around. And I can interrupt. Maybe I want to rewrite the UI with JScript. So I can interop, I can do the hard work, in C++ and do the interop with JavaScript via WinRT. And then you start, compiling, fix the problems related to Win32, scoring looking inside the headers, looking at the docs, asking questions to us, and telling us, you're crazy, why you did that, fix that, change that, and so on. That's the feedback we really need now. Try to do that, really. That's important to us. Tell us, I'm using these third-party libraries, and what's happening to them. And we are starting to contact them on now that actually we opened the Kimono, and we are starting to show these things out. So we have a process where we are going, to talk with Boost and the other companies and so on, and move them forward to this new Metro-style SDK. And like I said, you can add the WinRT layer, and then C++ rocks. There's a lot of people here. I really like this interaction. These are great vibes. These are all the other talks. Herb already went in. The last 2 already happened. And there is a bunch happening tomorrow and something on Friday. We are around down in the booth. You have our emails, you have cards, you have our blog. The blog is here. Blog, Channel 9. The last one is actually a forum that is already active from last night about question about Metro-style application in C++. There is actually another opportunity that just came out in the last couple of days that I want to mention, and ask me more if you want. Is about, we are doing some UX studies, kind of usability studies. Our usability engineers are here. They are super cool. They always wear cool hats, always cool sneakers and so on, not like us. It's black stuff and so on. So they are actually very cool. They are there. They have a room in the Hilton, and they want to run some studies on you, put your stuff on the head. And but if you want to actually take advantage, let us know. And there is an email. You can send email. You can describe what you're trying to do, and you can work with them. So that would be really beneficial. Thank you. I really like these slides because it's the thank you. And you really make it, man. I really like it. That's cool. So I think we have time. What time it is? Yeah, thanks. We have a bunch of time, so maybe we can actually do that interaction that I really wanted to have. So it's good in a certain sense that maybe I went too fast. I don't know. There are microphones, so hopefully they work. Try to get very close to the mics also.
Can you give us the list of people to ask questions, your phone list that you seem to get a lot of use out of?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'll find it out for you. Yes. You send me mail. My phone number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, please.
You showed an example where you did a component DLL of old code and used it inside a WinRT app. Is there such a thing as a WinRT component DLL, where you could use maybe some of the WinRT capabilities inside an old school executable?
Okay. So you're saying you have old school is not so good.
Desktop.
A desktop. There you go. Old School was a cool movie. Anyway, desktop app. So you're saying I have a desktop app and I want to use some WinRT code, some WinRT thing.
Right. So instead of using Win32 to do something that's painful via Win32, using the new APIs.
You had to double check with the Windows guys, guys that actually like Martin Lovell had, they talk about the WinRT libraries, and that's where you're gonna get your perfect answer. There is you really have to check with them. So the idea is that it's really COM, so it's pretty easy to use across. But I think most of the APIs are not available in classic desktop desktop application. I use classic too.
Okay.
So yeah, but double check with them. I think they are down. They are in the platform booth, and they can tell you right away. And I think probably is also in the docs. That's a good question.
Where are the docs?
Yeah.
Where are the docs located? Are they in the SDK? They didn't seem to be around here.
So this is the famous things I showed before. The docs are, yes, it's MSDN Microsoft.com. Can you read? There you go. We can go here. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's the address. So they are in MSDN, really. You know, you click, 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 eventually you find them. And that's what I do with MSDN. Or I use Bing. Maybe I think they're gonna be in the index in Bing, like right now. So it should be pretty good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
sorry.
If you have two Metro applications, is there some way they can communicate with each other? Like previous, you had like shared memory or
Pipes.
name pipes and different things like that. Is there some mechanism in the WinRT to communicate between two applications?
That's a good question, actually. So the idea is that the application are really they don't communicate through pipes or shared memory anymore because they are really kind of isolated. They are apexes. They are isolated, mostly for security reasons. But if you've seen in the keynotes, they talked a lot about the contracts and so on, right? That's the way we want the application to communicate. It's a little bit like one step behind, a little bit more removed. It's a little bit more abstract. But that's, you want to federate your app through these, contracts and so on. So that's the answer.
So there's no mechanism currently. Will there be a mechanism, or did they just decide not to?
That's, you basically, you have to fulfill the contract, so it's not going to be a name pipes and so on. So you just pass information.
So can you define these contracts then yourself? Have custom contracts?
No, you can't have custom contracts for now, no.
All right.
Sockets.
Realizing that each app is different on aggregate, do you have any rules of thumb for performance differences between C++, C#, JavaScript applications?
It's actually very early, and we didn't write so many apps to actually measure. Everybody's measuring perf for their app. So we're writing a lot of C++ apps, a lot of also mixed apps, like we call JScript and C++ apps. We are measuring a lot of things perf-wise. In C++, we are measuring the cost even of the ref releases, right? When we do them, when we don't do them. We are measuring micro benchmarks like this one, for example, cost for query interfaces and so on, that happens under the cover. But also macro costs, right? What's an end-to-end application like the music app costing and performing and so on. And the JScript team is doing the same, and the C# team, of course, is doing the same. And the XAML UI stack is doing the same on how fast the XAML UI itself, right? And that performance data is beneficial to both C#, VB, and C++. So we don't have that data ready right now, but I'm sure we will publish the data as soon as we have it. There is not a clear win. It always depends really on the application you are doing, right? Is there a clear win? What's the fastest language? You can never answer the question, right? It doesn't. It really depends what you're doing, right? If you're doing very hardcore, maths, but then again, you can parallelize it and put it on the GPU, and it's maybe, so much faster than just normal C++ code, right? If you go with C++ AMP. So HLSL is faster than C++ in a certain sense, right? For certain type of application that are extremely parallelizable. So, yeah, but we get the data and ping us and ask us.
Can you use any existing DLLs, or does everything have to essentially be recompiled for this new framework?
That's a good question. So the question was, to repeat, can you use existing DLL that are already compiled, or do you actually have to recompile to use the framework? So if you remember, I touched just a little bit about the logo certification. So in a certain sense, if you are lucky and your application, your DLL doesn't depend on any non-Win32 Metro style SDK, you might be fine. But the best way is always to recompile the code. So you should always have the sources for these DLLs and recompile them.
So certification is really the barrier, not a technical reason. So when we're prototyping, for example, we can go ahead and use some older DLLs just to see if it works. Yeah. With the idea that we're going to recompile and screen this before we publish.
Yes, but you as a prototype, you can definitely do that. Okay. But don't go too far with that. My suggestion is Because it's always easy to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to fix it later. Then you never fix it, and then you really can't upload it, right? Also, you have to depend. We made some changes inside our C runtime to actually make it Metro style, and make it work in Metro style. So you had to use the latest C runtime, the C runtime with the Visual Studio 11. Yeah. So just for that, if you depend on the C runtime, you have to recompile.
Oh, okay.
If you depend on the CLR, on the .NET Framework, you have to target the .NET Framework for files. So basically, unless it's a very, very narrow case.
Or very C
exactly, or just include files and so on. So just recompile.
Is the current list of APIs in the documentation that are supported under Metro, is that indicative of what is going to be supported in RTM? Because just looking over it, it looks like maybe there's a couple hundred APIs out of like 10,000 that are really supported. And even things like NLS, you only have a subset of functions that should be available. For example, like get date format, get currency format, they use locale IDs, but you're only supporting, for example, locale names and things like that. So what's the decision process and what's being supported in Metro versus Win32?
That's a good question again. I'm acting as the proxy to Windows to answer this question, but the final answer is really for Windows to answer, for the Windows SDK team to answer. So it is somewhat indicative of what you're going to see at RTM, and it's also there, for you to send feedback. So you should definitely, send that feedback around to the forums, to the right, say I really need this API, or ask why that API is not available, right? We talked about this classical example like GDI, message box, and so on, and it's easy sometimes to put your head around and say, okay, fine. It's painful for me not to have GDI, but I understand why. Some other things, maybe more painful, less painful, and so on. So that's the feedback you have to send out, and so on. And that's definitely a good indication of what's going to happen.
Yeah, I've got a variant on the question of communication between different applications. Can I create an application which has a Metro front end on top of a desktop back end? Suppose I've got a video transcoder that's going to run for 2 or 3 hours. I don't want that suspended, and I don't want it all in the Metro part. But I'd like to have the Metro front end to say, oh, you're 25% of the way through. Can I write that application?
I didn't think about that. So, no, you can't. But it's a great scenario. I love it. I'm sure someone thought about that, and then they forgot. Maybe no. We had to ask the Windows guy. But let me describe you what's happened. The key thing is that the Metro application are inside that Apex that you saw yesterday, that zip file that is renamed .apex, and it's everything that you need to run your application is inside that zip file. Every DLL to do, image changing, elaboration, and the decoding, and so everything is inside there or is inside the WinRT. Everything needs to be there, right? All your third-party libraries, as we were compiling Bullet and so on, we were putting Bullet inside my application and does the button drop. It's not that the button drop is reaching out to some DLL that is in System32 or so on. No. So everything needs to be local, up local to your application. And I really think it's beautiful because it's very, very compact. There is no central pieces that you have to manage and the other ref release through MSI, and it's always get messed up and so on. It's very easy to say. If you move all this folder, everything works on wherever you're roaming and so on. So that's the key message here. So you kind of have a second question. The problem you're really trying to solve is the one you described very well, is that I don't want the application to suspend. I want the application to keep on going, and because maybe it's not for as late my application, right? Or people you can tell the application, maybe the application can figure out, am I connected to the power supply, and I keep on running. Things like that, maybe you can definitely do. But do talk with the Windows guys. I think this is a great scenario, and they're going to have a good answer for you.
You mentioned about ATL
Yeah.
That registry is not available. So what is available to instantiate the object, and what to do with existing ATL COM libraries? Let's say they are compliant otherwise.
Right. I don't remember all the details about what we cut in ATL or not. I can definitely find out for you in the booth. But the basic COM parts, CCOM pointer, I think connection points as well, and so on, they're all there. Create COM object and so on. And you can, self-registration. When you put the registration inside the manifest, that still works inside I think, inside the Metro style application. But the part that we did to wrap GDI in ATL, you remember, and the part we did to wrap the registry, that part is if-def out. So we just put a large if-def that is the same partition family if-def inside the ATL headers.
So new ATL wizard will take care of it for compliant components.
I'm not sure. I don't think we have the new ATL wizard in the Dev 11 Express we have now. So we should talk more offline and kind of deep down tomorrow or this afternoon. Tonight. Someone? No. In the middle, sorry.
This might be a similar question, but you just said everything for your app has to be app local. But how does COM work with that? Because COM you typically register to a machine, and you only have one location for that.
Right, yeah.
So say I have 3 OEM apps that use the exact same COM component. Not all 3 of those can have an app local COM component and have it registered. So what do you do then? Does it just not work?
It doesn't work. You can't go through CLSID centrally to, co-create the COM component. But my understanding is that, the self-reg COM, the app local COM, I don't remember the exact term now. When you put the COM registration actually in the manifest, app local to your application, that always works, right? Reg-free COM, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So I would go that route.
Is there any restrictions for mixed mode applications? We have some native and C++ CLI code that might be worth bringing over, but it fires up the CLR and things. Is it the same version of the CLR that would run on desktop that runs under Metro?
So C++ CLI is not supported in Metro style application. So for that thing, we'd like you to move forward, to move to WinRT layer. So you should rewrite that part to actually be a WinRT layer. C++ CLI doesn't target the 4.5 CLR.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk more, expand it a bit more later, but that's the key message.
I don't think the old style, desktop style shell extensions fit into the Metro style apps. Is that a correct statement?
Say it again, sorry.
I don't think the desktop shell extensions fit into the Metro style.
They do not.
You have to go through contracts and charms and
exactly,
et cetera.
Exactly,
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the idea, yes. Yeah. To access local data. Sorry? Oh, like Symbol Server? Oh, SQL Server local. Okay. Yeah, so for that there are a few options. So the question is, I repeat the question. So the question is, how do you access local data, right? Let's say your application has some data that you want to keep on the side, right there, just for your app, not to share with everybody. So there are a bunch of alternatives. I think normally you probably you could use the registry for if it's not too much information, or you can create, some database or so on. So there are a bunch of alternatives in the Windows Runtime family of APIs to actually save, files, like some XML files locally. Database. I think, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I think, if you had to do a connection to a DBC database, it would just work, but I can't be 100% sure. So we had to double check with the Windows guys and so on. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Is there any kind of communication possible between a desktop app and a Metro style app?
I think the only kind of communication is through files. You know, you can save, let's say, you know, you have a desktop app that saves a picture file, you put in your picture folder, and you can load it up.
So there is no kind of event mechanism?
I don't believe so. You can double check with the Windows guys.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I'm sending a lot of, but I also don't want to, you know, I don't want to start here inventing answers. Not that cross the boundary. There is that I don't think so. We have to double check because the sandbox is pretty tough, right? Yeah. We can talk more. Please.
So if you're sticking in desktop world, you're not trying to talk to Metro app. What facilities can you make use of in the runtime?
So are you thinking about two applications, both alive?
No,
both running?
I'm thinking of like people who need to write apps with a lot of Chrome. So writing Photoshop. So what's the roadmap for APIs for this world?
Oh, APIs. So are you thinking about your, let me rephrase the question a little bit. So you have an application and you want to kind of rewrite that application in Metro style or use some parts of that application or basically keep the same code base and if def out different parts?
Make use of the WinRT in desktop land.
So there was a similar question before and the WinRT is not, most of the WinRT is not available in desktop lab. If not in. So you have to double check with the Windows guys. But for example, the XAML UI is not available in desktop application. When I
open up.
Okay.
Browser.
Yeah.
And then it says build the desktop and Internet Explorer opens
the desktop.
How to do that?
That's a good question for the Internet Explorer guys.
The basic idea should be this one.
Okay, yeah, you can start process probably.
You are doing that, I should do.
Yeah, definitely. If we can do it, you can do it. I completely agree with you.
How to do that?
Yes, I will. That's a good question. That's a good example. Sorry, the question was, think for example, is again about communication between Metro style environment and desktop environment. And he brought up a good example. Say, sometimes you are in the Internet Explorer inside Metro style, and you can say, go and open the same page in the desktop Internet Explorer. So how does that happen? I don't know.
It opens a whole new window.
Right, but how does that launching mechanism work? So maybe is what you're looking for, right? How does it work?
There's a CRC function.
Oh, look at that.
That launches, but you can only pass kind of like a URL across. You can't pass any data. You can pass a string.
Okay.
There's no data. There's no streams. It's one directional with a string.
Oh, repeat the question again. Oh, repeat the answer, sorry. So the answer was that actually there is a API that you can call where you actually pass just a URL, and there is not a bidirectional data things. It's just, a single direction. But, I think, this is great feedback in a certain sense. I got the message, I got the question, and we have all our guys here taking notes and typing furiously and asking questions. We are going to go out on our blog and answer this question. Ask them again, because we always forget things. But this is important. You care about this, and you also describe, to make it even more compelling. Tell us the story. Tell us what you're trying to do, more or less. You don't have to give out your secrets, but, the example before about, the long-running process to do, a codec change, that's a great story. You can really see the problem. You say, okay, I get it. Let's try together to find a solution to that. That's why we are here showing off all these things, because we want to get the easy question and say, oh, it's cool, blah, blah. But also we want to get these hard questions and say, how do I do that? I really need to do that because I really want to do this and this and this and that. So, sorry, a couple of guys.
Similarly to the long-running codec question, if I have a desktop app running as a desktop app and people are switching around with it WinRT sort of features, are we going to have to abide by the WinRT restrictions, particularly around shutting down, saving, and those sorts of things?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So that's a good point, though, because technically, if you have a lot of desktop app running and they don't suspend, you're gonna drain the battery anyway.
The question was, if we have a desktop app running as a desktop app, whether we have to abide by the WinRT sort of guidance. So what will happen with saves?
Nothing. As in, you just have to abide by it. So, I mean, as a desktop, it's just traditional Windows.
You can come to the microphone so everybody can can listen.
Okay. So yeah, anything in traditional Windows is just exactly the same. You're not asked to save state. You're not asked to terminate. You can use as much memory as you like until you run out of page file, just like you used to. It's only Metro apps which are covered.
But you usually get a message that you're shutting down, and then you respond to that.
Yeah.
How do you get that message? I mean, how does the user get that?
In Metro.
I think we really need some Windows dudes. Where are they? They are all to the party. Oh, there is a Lesh. Come on.
I had a question.
Come on.
So,
there's a lot of anxiety about the. Can you hear me? I speak really loud, so I think that you will hear me. So here are the rules about the desktop. Okay, so the desktop is the desktop. Nothing on the desktop is changing. The rules are the same on the desktop. So whatever was true on Windows 7 is true on Windows 8. We cannot change this big, huge AppCompat implication, and so the desktop is going to continue to run exactly by the same set of rules. The only time we do something different is when the screen on the device goes black. So during the keynote, we showed you something which was called connected standby. I don't know if you caught on it or not. So this was the thing when Mike Enge or whoever it was, Mike Angelo, clicked the button and the screen went dark. So at that point, we go and we suspend all the processes on the machine to preserve battery, to keep the battery good. As long as the machine is up, and if you have installed all kinds of goofy software on the desktop which keeps running and spinning the CPU, you will run out of battery. That's kind of what's going to happen. It's going to be no different. We will be probably a little more aggressive on the ARM platform with respect to what the rules will be for the desktop applications. We don't know yet. Still working through that. But we want to be a little more aggressive, a little more about the battery there. So then the next question I think was, can Metro apps communicate with desktop apps? The answer is not really. There are a few things which you can do. Remember the app container, which we keep these applications in, is trying to keep these apps isolated from each other. And the main purpose is because these apps are getting randomly suspended and not suspended, and if we let you communicate across these app container boundaries, we will hang the system. Because you will try to kind of poke into the app, and the app is like dead. There's nothing running. It's not getting scheduled. And so, no, there is no communication. The applications are truly isolated from each other as best as we can isolate them. The only thing which you can do is if you are familiar with shell execute, you can effectively do a shell execute across these apps. So you could say, please system invoke these apps. And there are two ways to execute the app. One is you register for supporting a file type. And the second one is you register for supporting a protocol handler. So you can make up your own protocol, blah blah blah, : / and when somebody invokes that protocol, we will boot you up. We will bring you up. It's effectively a shell execute kind of semantics. Or we will boot you up when somebody pulls on one of your contracts. That's another way to bring you up. Generally, however, we don't want you to build applications which are dependent on some kind of desktop component. The whole idea of these applications are that you can install them without any kind of crazy MSIs and elevations and scary prompts and that type of stuff. On the desktop, again, the same rules apply because we have no idea about what is in your package, what is in your application. And so we will prompt the user and we will scare them. We will tell them, look, we don't know what this application is, and if you install it, it's going to be, we don't know. Whereas with these new applications, which are running inside of the app container with these Metro-style apps, we have some ideas about what you are doing because we subsetted the API surface, we run them inside of the app container. And so there is some idea about what kind of confidence promise we can make or safety promise we can give to the user. And so if you write application which depends on some desktop component, the end user experience is going to be kind of crappy. Because first you will have to launch the app, then the second thing, the app will have to say, hey, and now go install the other thing, and we will scare you to hell while we are doing that. And then you will be hopefully good, and maybe not, and we don't know. And so you should think about it as long as you want to write a Metro-style apps, stick with the rules of the Metro-style. Like the point is, like a lot of these questions are super practical, but you really need to take a step back. Like this is a new philosophy. This is a new world which we are trying to put in place, and it has a new set of rules, and we want to stick to those set of rules. And I know they are constraining, they are different, but as long as we are going to try to reverse engineer how we can live in the old world while trying to take the benefit of the new world, we are not going to build the PCs and the devices which people want from us. And so it's up to us to really get this right. And yeah, we know that some of those things which we are building are inconvenient. And we have to learn to think about these things differently.
No calls into Windows services.
Sorry?
No calls into Windows services. I could have a Windows service.
Unless there is a WinRT API, well, you will not be, well, if you have already, if you manage to somehow get a Windows service on my machine, and no calls,
SQL Server.
Yeah, well, you will not be able to call to SQL Server if it runs in a different process.
So
you have to have the SQL Server running inside of the app container, and today SQL Server does not run in the app container. That's right. Unless we have a WinRT API for that. Yeah. Business as usual. Nothing changed.
Yep.
We love you. Please build more of these applications. We love the desktop applications. There is
and some applications.
Room for these applications. We want to have as many of them as you can possibly build. And the same rules apply for the desktop.
And some applications are just like desktop app. You know, they really make sense only on desktop,
right? Like, please don't try to build AutoCAD right now.
Right. Or Visual Studio.
Or Visual Studio.
We are not going to try to build Visual Studio inside Metro-style.
Probably not the best bet, you know what I mean? At least, like, we may get there, but not yet. We are not ready for it. And so let's kind of take it in steps. Let's take it in stride. Like, it's important that we, as a community, as a developers, it's important that we stay focused. And if we try to do everything at the same time, we'll probably fail at it. And so let's really focus on these scenarios which we kind of outline, and there's lots of rich stuff which we can go and do. And if it feels like you are, sticking rod peg through a square hole, it's probably better that you don't. All right, I will return to that.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this talk today is about helping us move our applications to Metro. Can you share as Microsoft how you're getting on with some of your applications converted to Metro? So, for instance, what's happening with the Windows Photo Live Gallery and the movie makers and the words of this world? What is your experience, how far you've got, and are you even going to transition those applications to it? Because that will give us a good guidance of whether we should be.
That's great feedback, and I'm already, for the libraries point of view, for example, the C++ libraries, we are definitely going to share the process we had to actually, to the STL libraries, we had to change a bunch of stuff inside there to move them to Metro-style SDK. So we are going to share that process and what we went through and so on. For, how we decide to subset it here. Maybe even your libraries, you can go through the same idea. You can subset some of the libraries like we did with ATL. So that's definitely feedback. I mean, that's information we are going to have on our blog and so on. We are going to talk. And we are going to talk about some of the, the apps we created. Some apps moved forward. Some apps were rewritten from scratch. I was just talking, for example, with the guys in India that wrote the reader, the PDF reader. And they kind of, rewrote that from scratch. But You know, some example they rewrote from scratch, some example they just reuse a lot of components. So we'll definitely share that information. That's great info. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the question is, the question is, how do you start the viewer when you have? I mean, I think Aleš kind of. Let's say you have a custom file format and you want to start a viewer. You have an Alecont file format. You want to start a viewer for that format. I think you can register a certain application for that, right? And so, like Aleš was describing, you can register, you know, the HTTP // and then just we bring up whatever, right? Right now, you know, we can bring up, for example, you know, the PDF reader that is in Metro style instead of Acrobat reader that is actually a classic desktop application. I don't even know what time it is, but 6:15. We had to go drink. We had to go party. So, but I mean, it was great interaction. I really want to see you all downstairs, you know, and to the other talks that are up there. Thank you, guys.